To shed light on some of the intricacies of the pilgrimage, I am now joined by Professor Musa Xulu, who is a cultural expert. Professor, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. 113 years of this sacred event, it must be quite a significant milestone.
Well, it is. It's also very sustainable. The prophet himself, Isaiah, who started the church, he had been born here. His parents were from Sabatini, then they went to the Free State, Harrismith, and then, of course, later he came back here to KZN as a prophet and became a very close friend of Dr. John Dube, the founding president of the ANC. And then, of course, the relationship has been sustained through all the time. You must remember the church was started in 1911, and the ANC was started in 1912. And Dr. Jacob Zuma played a lot of role because the literacy of the founding prophet was not all that good. So the hymn book itself, the person who did the actual writing, not the composing, but the writing was Dr. Jacob Zuma. It's very sustainable, although now they have, I think, 7 subdivisions in the church, but they all are doing the same in believing in the Mosaic way, like in the style of Moses, that the power of the Lord is to be found on the mountain, and therefore, once or twice a year, devotees must pilgrimage to the mountain.
And as we heard in that previous package as well, you know, one of the elderly ladies who is attending this year saying that she's been going since she was 15 years old. There's a lot of history and tradition that is rooted in this pilgrimage.
Well, it is. It's usually, you know, the Shembe Church people, Newzroom Baptist, it is called. It's a religion that gets passed from one generation to the next in each family. But also, it's too much aligned with traditional Amakos, Zulu traditional leaders. And therefore, it's a combination of Mosaic as well as some aspects of Zulu, belief systems.
And Prof, if you could just explain to those who aren't privy with the cultural norms as well, why is the walk done barefoot in particular, the significance of that as well?
Well, the barefoot aspect is because, traditional Zulu religion is rooted on the earth, nature. So, there must not be anything that takes you away from nature, and therefore your feet form a direct connectivity between your body, your soul, and nature. That's why they do that. But also, secondly, because Moses, you remember somewhere in the scriptures, God said to Moses, must take off his sandals because he's entering a holy place. And it has been a tradition that is maintained in that spirit.
And do you find that there's enough preparation that goes in terms of law enforcement and transport officials to ensure that this does go smoothly?
Well, from what I know and what I've observed and I've been told, the eThekwini municipality does play a very major role in assisting the church with those kinds of logistics. But also the SAPS gets involved because although it's a peaceful march, very peaceful, it must also not be forgotten that because there are factions, anything can happen sometime, and therefore, as far as I know, the logistics of toilets, logistics of water and sanitation is always at hand for the church. And of course, they use tents, small tents like the Israelites on Mount Sinai, in their journey to Khenana, like they're going to Khenana. That Khenana in the Bible is assimilated here.
And also, just taking a look at the early start of the church in 1911 as well, and you mentioning, it also being quite closely connected to the inception of the African National Congress as well. Do you find that, us going into an election year and also January 8th coming up, this was all coinciding at a very pivotal time?
Well, it is a very pivotal time. I think what you're going to see in the election year is a lot of politicians once more going to the Shembe prophets to ask for blessings. But also, January, as you know, is next week on Saturday. The 8th is on Monday. It's going to be a very significant year, 112 for the ANC. And as everybody seems to think, it's going to be a watershed year in terms of how the elections will go in South Africa this time. But of course, the relationship between the ANC and the Shembe Church in its entirety has never been disturbed over the 112 years that the ANC has been in existence.
And just looking at the ANC in its current state as well, and also considering the break-off parties coming out of the ANC, and I mean, that's not new, but considerably so, thinking of the MK party and the former president, Jacob Zuma, who's got quite a stronghold there in KwaZulu-Natal as well. Do you think that relationship between the Shembe Church and the ANC will then remain untouched?
Well, it should. What the prophets have done, especially this major one, the Musa Church, was the most followed, has been able to maintain a very neutral stance in political issues. And that has in turn made it possible for many political parties to go to him without, associating him with any other political party. And therefore, it's going to continue like that. In terms of the MK party, I will not be surprised if former President Jacob Zuma also comes there for blessings.
And I'm assuming that the prophets do not discriminate. Whoever does come for those blessings, granted that they do have some sort of a relationship with them, as they would with the former president, Jacob Zuma, then also gets the privileges of receiving such blessings.
Yes, well, in order to be able to sustain the church, I think it's been very strategic not to take sides. But you'll find that, of course, nationally they'll be seen more with government because they have close to 4 million people under them. And they're spread all over, not just the province of KwaZulu-Natal, but also Gauteng, Free State, all the provinces, as well as Mozambique and as far as Malawi and Zimbabwe. So it's a very large church. And for the sake of peace, they will tend to be seen more with government. I'm not saying governing party, I'm saying government. And of course, they remain neutral, and that is very strategically important to keep things like that because, politics can be very volatile, and if you are trapped in it, of course, it's very easy to tear your church into pieces.
Yeah, so rather steer clear of taking any sides there. Thank you so much for joining us. That was cultural expert Professor Musa Xulu talking us about that holy pilgrimage in KZN.